Okay, tonight I'm going to discuss my understanding of metaphysics and epistemology as it relates to Plato's intangible world. So we know that epistemology is understanding, it's the examination of how we come to know and understand. And what metaphysics, we understand metaphysics to be the examination of how we become, becoming and how we become. Going to the intangible world, is part of the higher form of metaphysics and epistemology. Plato had a divided line, and the divided line, it was metaphysics on one side with 4 levels, and epistemology on the other side with 4 levels. And the highest levels would be on metaphysics, being, and with epistemology, the knowledge. And this section is called the intangible world. So the intangible world with metaphysics, going into the being, you would get into the being with knowledge. I'm sorry, epistemology. You would be into the knowledge coming with reasoning and understanding. If it wasn't for our ability to reason and ask the whys and hows, we wouldn't be able to come into or acquire knowledge or understanding with absolute truth. Has to be absolute certainty. It's beyond the mental existence. It's not composed of matter. It's the world of intellect. This is predominantly based with science and mathematics. And we all know mathematics to be a universal language because, in order for something to be a universal truth, it's something that needs to be true and real no matter where you are or when you go there. It has to be something that is real, and it will be a universal truth. So the ability to reason gives us understanding, which is the highest level of epistemology. Once again, it's a universal truth. Going to metaphysics, which is our examination, how we become, the examination of how we do that. It's things that exist. And when we know things exist and we're using our senses, it's generally just an opinion only, because we're basing things off of images. And when we're basing some things off images, and then from the images, it can go into, sensible objects. And then going into the higher form in the tangible world, we go into human, and then the highest form would be the good. For example, with the simile about the sun was a high form, and then it was good because it brought light, and it brought growth. So and we can call these levels of awareness. It takes things out of just opinions, because we're asking the reasons to the whys and the hows. And usually with science and mathematics, there's a hypothesis, which comes with analyzing and examinations, and that leads us into the knowledge that we have. And Pluto believed that in order for things to be truthful with absolute certainty, that it had to be changeless. And once again, that's just going back to a universal truth. Um, so at the highest level, he did talk about the soul, and he did talk about how the soul uh, didn't need certain things, because we were able to reason and we were able to deduce forms, and we directly understood things without meditating, or different processes. So, my understanding of the intelligible world is that it is an intellectual world that came with scientific and mathematical examinations and evaluations, asking the reasons to the whys when we're referencing the epistemological form. And when we are talking about the metaphysical form, we are talking about being able to elevate things from an image up into an actual form and then taking that form into what the highest it can be. Once again, a human could be good or bad, the sun could be good or bad. And so the higher form of something materialistic of matter would be good. Um, an epistemological reference, it would be to understand, have a full understanding within us without a doubt, that we know what we do know. Going back into the allegory of the cave, Plato's allegory of the cave, I believe that this is a metaphysical um, story because the people were in the cave and all they had was just to wonder and think things, and the images that they seen on the wall and things that they were being told, they never had a chance to do any investigation or any examinations on their own. They relied on their senses, and we do know that there are times when we could read things wrong, we could see things different. All of us have different imaginations, and so they actually believed those images on the wall and those objects to be totally different things. There was no reasoning, there was no understanding. They just seen some images and then they dictated what they thought those forms were. So I believe it to be a metaphysical story. And in order for them to break that metaphysical aspect of it, the people would have had to break out of those chains and actually change and actually go out of the cave to be able to actually see what it is that was going on and have that epistemological approach.